It was mentioned that nearly 400,000 Sri Lankans left this country in 2022. The number that left us in 2023 is been similar, little less I would say. This will continue. Numbers will drop, it will continue. But we can stem it by about 2026, 2027 if we undertake the fundamental economic reforms that are necessary. The bankruptcy of our nation made them realize that we can't go on as it is. Life is going to be more difficult. They had to look after their children's education. They had to pay their debts. The money wasn't sufficient, so they decided to leave. We fixed our salaries when rupees, we had 185 rupees to a dollar. We fixed our prices when there's 300 rupees to a dollar. So can you imagine how a middle class executive can exist? What we have done so far is to ensure that the creditors of our nation, both sovereign states and private entities, have recognized that we have the capacity to repay their debt after the concessions given to us. When I brought the economic transformation bill, one party in parliament went to courts and said it should be rejected because we require import substitution economy. So first and foremost, we must get out of our heads that there are no such thing called an import substitution economy. How do you substitute for your economy? For your imports. You still need the raw material abroad. So what we have to first undertake and commit ourselves is to a highly competitive, modern, export-oriented economy. As Prime Minister Scott said, I agree with you 200%. We have to get the rest of Sri Lanka also to agree to it. That's a small problem. Nevertheless, I think you have the opportunity now, and most of the people in our country feel so, that there has to be a fundamental change in the economy. When we do that, we will realize the sectors we require people. We have about 300,000 to 400,000 acres of land to be cultivated through modern methods. We have land held by the villagers where agriculture can be modernized. If we go up to 8 metric tons of rice per hectare, we will only need 2/3 of the land for rice cultivation. They have done Murray Darling, even gone up to about 10, but that's a small area with water available. So this is one area. Development on tourism. There's big scope for IT and related industries and to train people for automation. So many areas I am not going to deal with all, except to refer to economic cooperation with India. We've decided on an integrated system of integrating, we will have power connectivity, but of all the sectors, the most important one will be land connectivity. Then the Tamil Nadu economy, which competes with Maharashtra and Gujarat, together with Andhra and Telangana, will have to use the ports, can use the ports of Sri Lanka, Trincomalee and Colombo. That's going to make a big difference for them and for us. So there are many areas that we have identified, which we have to expand. And we must be friendly to foreign investment, and more than that, also friendly to local investment. The private sector, big and small, has to expand. There are no other way. Now within this framework, yes, we must look at our human capital formation. Without having financial capital, you can't develop your human capital. We can't tackle everything at the same time. So first, we have to look at the vocational and the technical sector. A lot of the people who went from this country were not graduates. They are vocationally and technically qualified. So where is it? We have too many agencies, too many departments, ministries running these agencies. I want to have one single agency for this area, which will look after post-school education. All the training centers, as they are called, there may be about 700 or 800 in the country run by the government alone, to be merged into about 300 vocational colleges, which then can be updated and modernized. That's what we have to do. Replace the technical colleges of varying standards with advanced colleges of technology and management and be able to introduce the associate degree in the technical and vocational subjects. So these are two of the main issues we have. Then to begin with is our qualification, the NVQ qualification. I think we must relook at the NVQ qualification and bring it in line with the Australian ones, which is accepted internationally and which makes provision for the associate degree. There's much more we can learn from Australia. This is one of them. Because if we look at the countries in Asia that has developed, all of them have turned to their good system of vocational technical education, higher education, and therefore capital formation. If you take Japan, we have Korea, we have Hong Kong, and Singapore in the top tier. There's Vietnam, China, Malaysia, Thailand in the next years. UAE is catching up. Qatar is catching up. So these are the systems. If you looked at the Vietnam system in 1990, we were light years ahead of them. So what we need is assistance from outside to develop these systems. We are so far used to asking an aid project, which is mainly consists of buildings and some equipment. We go away with that. I will not allow anyone to get money for putting up buildings. The foreign assistance we require, the central will have to decide, will be to strengthen and modernize the system. So in this respect, one of the countries which I will reach out to is Australia. We have a lot to learn. We can also be a platform for human capital formation and do that in this whole region. For India to develop, for Bangladesh to develop, for Sri Lanka to develop, we have to improve our human capital formation. All of the BIMSTEC countries must get together. But for Sri Lanka, seek the assistance of some of these countries to build up the system of education. Already there is a project paper which I think the Australian High Commission produced somewhere in 2021 or 2022 on the educational opportunities. We are also developing some of the new not-for-profit universities in the government sector, hopefully 4 on technology. So this is an outline of what we have to do and what we have to take into account in our deliberations. Firstly, the system has to change. You don't need new technology for import substitution, because it basically can't be done. Secondly, we have to go through with reforms followed up by strengthening our education and training system.